Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the DotPro Show. I am BreakyCPK and excited to be here once again. We are back this week. Obviously, we were off last week. Do apologize for that once again. It's just such a busy week as far as personally when it came to not only just casting but life in general. But we are back now, and frankly, there wasn't like a lot that we missed, but we are gonna catch ourselves up, and then of course look forward also to this week ahead of us here and what's going on. There's definitely plenty to talk about, from the Star Ladder event to just kicking off to PGL to the Manila Invitational that's happening, and even several more on top of that. There's some roster news to go over as well. All of this and more on this week's episode, so let's kick it off with the good news and bad news segment here. As far as good news is concerned, pretty much as I just said there, the season has officially started when it comes to the lands, when it comes to minors and majors. We are kicking it off, baby, and we got the Star Ladder land to kick it all off, the first minor of the year, taking place. In fact, as we're recording this podcast, day one is already in the books from earlier this morning. Day two will then continue on tomorrow, of course, so Group A actually taking place earlier today, and then Group B into tomorrow. Now, obviously, I'm going to be breaking it down plenty more with zrock when he joins me here, but just to reiterate, the season officially getting kicked off, and I don't think, if you're a fan of Dota 2 whatsoever, obviously this is a very, very exciting time, specifically if you enjoy watching the competitive side. You know, points are going to start to be earned, and I know it's very, very early on in the season, but starting off strong, it definitely is important. And on top of that, though, we also got to see the debut of Team Liquid, and we will be getting /got to, depending on when you listen to this, see the debut of Newbie with this new LAN season as well. Two teams, no doubt, a lot of people are looking forward to watching. We got them in the TI Finals, and of course, in Liquid's case, the TI Champions after all. I'll just spoil it here right now. I mean, they had a fantastic start to their play in Group A. Again, we'll break it down more a little bit later on. But that's the good news. What else can there be, right? It's just good news all around that the season has officially started. As far as bad news goes, there is possible drama arising in the Digital Chaos organization, specifically with the NA team. And even the SA team, actually, it was just announced here recently that the SA team officially disbanded. Three of their players remaining together are going to be forming a new team called White Dragons, I believe it's called, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, White Dragons, yeah. Leo Style, King Tekka, and Matthew, the Peruvians on the squad, going to form White Dragons over there, leaving HFN and King RD behind. But that took place, but then also on the NA side, Moo Meander announced that he is out of the squad, no longer captain / support player for the team. Demon then stepped in place, so he's the new support captain. But then on top of that, there's apparent Abed rumors going around that he may possibly not be with the team in the near future. Now, there's not there's not anything that makes us 100% proof at this point just yet, but there are reasons to believe, there's speculation that Abed potentially could be finding a new home in the future when it comes to his time with Digital Chaos. So, interested to see how that all plays out there with him and being involved with the team. Like I said, at the end of TI7, really kind of wrapping things up for this last season, he was one of those players I would not have been surprised to see poached and end up with another team, being in North America, you know, coming from the Southeast Asia region. He is a younger person himself. Whether or not that was having an effect on him, who knows? But it just something did feel a little bit off there as the season went on and into TI7. And so now here we are with a possible move that could be coming up. Obviously, it's been a disappointing time for DC so far. They were unable to qualify for anything at this point. Something that we got to look towards moving forward here when it comes to some roster drama, some roster news, some roster updates. So that's the good news and the bad news. There you go. Now, speaking of the roster updates, I am going to be joined by zrock coming up right after this break here. Sit tight, guys. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, so welcome back again. Now I'm joined by zrock here, of course, and we are going to be discussing a lot that's going on here within the competitive Dota 2 circuit at this point. Of course, we didn't have a show last week, so apologize for that once again, but we definitely got plenty to not only catch up on, but then also look forward to moving forward with even more events. So, zrock, first things first, how's it going, man?
It's going great. It's going great. Stayed up late last night watching LCS. You know, we got Worlds going on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's I have heard about that. Something about the NA region not doing too well. That's what I've heard about.
NA was actually posed to take their group last night. Like, they were clear front runners to get second. Like, Koreans always win, so Koreans were going to win. They were set up to get second, and then they go 0-4 to lose. So wow. They were looking good last week. They look pretty terrible this week, but
all right. Well,
no one wants to hear about League, though.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, how dare you bring that up?
Yeah,
well, NA over in Dota 2 now, on the other hand, we're expecting big things out of this region, of course, and we got a tournament to kick it off now with Star Ladder. Well, no, actually, all right. See, I'm already going out of place here. Well, we'll get to Star Ladder shortly. But to keep the transition going smoothly, I am. I want to talk about complexity, man, my boys, but we'll get to them shortly. Want to start with the roster situation. So I had talked about in our bad news segment there, specifically on Digital Chaos, how they actually announced that they're replacing Moon Meander with Demon stepping in. And then on top of that, there's been rumors. There's nothing to 100% suggest this just yet, but there's been rumors out there that Abed may possibly be leaving DC and going elsewhere, basically. So essentially, Digital Chaos is definitely going through some changes at this moment. I don't know if you have heard anything more on it, zrock, but
not anything that the rest of the world hasn't heard. But they're in desperation mode. I mean, I'm sure they're disheartened. They didn't really qualify for anything. They're definitely feeling the pressure, and I would expect to see big changes. I wouldn't be surprised if they disband. Let's be honest.
We talked about this, how when the roster shuffle was taking place after TI, Abed was a name for me that kind of stood out as it just, not that I felt out of place in full, because I thought when he first joined the scene, and they obviously had a decent run at times and they qualified for TI, but just something about it just seemed like he wasn't fitting and fully with the DC squad. And I don't know whether that's the case if he was playing an NA team and, you know, him living there was different for him or whatever, but just something about it felt off. And so personally, I would not be surprised if these rumors end up being true.
Yeah, I mean, when he came onto the scene, he was crushing his mid lanes. I mean, he was consistently beating pretty much everyone not named Sumail in North America. And it seems like that edge has just gone away. He's not winning his lanes as hard. He's not the dominant force he once was in the team. But if you look at that roster, I mean, there's a lot of question marks. Yeah, Abed's definitely one that stands out. Mason, though, has had his fair share of lackluster performances. Bulba's had a couple iconically terrible games. This roster just lacks consistency. I think they're good enough players. They'd always have the shot. They had a decent chance of qualifying to a number of these events, but they can't string it all together for an entire tournament. They just seem to lack that consistency.
Well, and then going back to the initial move that we know for a fact happened, of course, Moon Meander's out, Demon in as their new captain/support player. That kind of came out of nowhere for me. I mean, all of a sudden I saw a tweet from Moon Meander where he said, and I quote, "Being captain was a humbling experience. Thanks, DC, for the opportunity. I wish the best of luck of them moving forward." And it was like, wait, what? Where's this coming from? But I think that right there, not that that was like a dramatic post by any means. It was a very well-spoken post. But at the same time, yeah, it's like, where's this coming from, guys? The season's just starting. Why is this happening right now?
Yeah, the way that worded was like he wasn't expecting it almost. That it was kind of a forcible kick kind of thing. But I can see why. You have MSS, who is arguably just a better offlaner than Moon, so they couldn't even have Moon as their offlaner. You have Bulba, who used to be playing offlane as well. There just wasn't really any room for him here, and I couldn't imagine being captain having Bulba on your team. Like, you have one of the smartest guys, one of the best, probably the best coach in the game, and you're trying to captain around that? Like, that was just a tough spot Moon was put in, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt off from the beginning, as we talked about when we first heard the change. Just this idea that Moon Meander being in that role, something about it just didn't seem right. Even though he has matured, and now I wonder, with this, where does he go? Where does he end up? Obviously, we're gonna have to wait until these lands kind of play out here coming up, and a new set of qualifiers take place. But I find it hard to believe that Moon Meander is gonna go teamless much longer. Like I don't think that's going to be a case for a long time necessarily. For a player like this of his caliber. But at the same time, what is there, right? Like who's out there? What teams are out there? So he may have to go to one of these tier 2, tier 3 teams.
Yeah, we got to be a little blunt. When's the last time Moon looked like a premium player in his position, though? It's been a long time since Moon was dominant.
Yeah. You see him in the off lane again. I mean, I want to see him back to mid, man. I just want to see the mid Moon Meander coming back and doing work, but playing some Beastmaster mid, old school right there.
I mean, I could definitely see him ending up on one of these new Han teams coming in. Context he still probably has from that game. There's going to be a lot more of those teams rolling over, finally making the change, or at least giving Dota a shot with the induction of the minor system. So he'll definitely find somewhere. I just don't think it's going to be a secret or an OG or any of those kind of things. And
then what about Demon replacing him? I think Demon obviously has more experience as a captain especially, but Demon kind of in the similar boat of like, what has he done lately, right? Like he's kind of been bouncing around quite a bit and hasn't been the most impressive at the same time.
Yeah, last year's TNC run was obviously like his most notable contribution probably ever in Dota. But Demon I think's a little different. Demon has a role, I believe. I just don't think it's on DC. Demon's always been best, just kind of like 1437, in going into a group of very good players, but that aren't rooted super deep into the scene, and then trying to mold them to be competitive. I think he's going to struggle. Like he struggled when he was on Complexity, dropping into that established lineup. I think he's going to struggle dropping in here because a lot of these players have their identity already. They have what they want, and it seems like it's difficult for him to drop into an existing system.
Yeah. So the new DC squad, again, there's nothing official yet. Abed is still part of the team as we know it right now, but there is possibilities that could be changing in the near future. That's something we'll have to look out for. And where he ends up, who replaces him, of course, will be very interesting. A couple of other roster changes that took place, not nearly as significant, but still worth mentioning. You mentioned, of course, Demon going to DC. Well, that means he left Tuho, and Tuho actually announced that they just disbanded after all these qualifiers that they were playing through. This wasn't a team that we expected a lot out of necessarily. Sad to see, specifically with Insania and Mickey, of course, but I can't say I'm too surprised. It's a lot of grinding, man. And for these teams that aren't really qualifying for any, yet they're playing in so many between open and closed qualifiers, that has to be tough because it's not like they're making money on this. They're not getting player contracts, right? Like they're not making money on the side as well. So it's a tough spot to be in for these kind of amateurish teams if they don't happen to qualify for any of these events. So,
but it's a tough spot they're putting themselves in. I've said this time and time again. They don't have to play the major qualifier. They're not making the major. Like, if they did, that would be the most insane miracle run they've ever had. And it's taking a lot of time and effort away from their other tournaments they have a reasonable shot in. They got second in the WCA qualifier. Maybe if they laid off another couple tournaments, they could have made that one. I mean, there's definitely ways they could have positioned themselves better. And I think the burnout is so self-inflicted by a lot of these teams. But it is a little sad to see them go. I can't imagine they're done with Dota, though. That Insania Garter Mickey combo seems like they'll be back next season. There's just no real reason to stay together without a sponsor right now. There's nothing to play in. There's nothing to do.
Yeah. And Quakefa on top of that, whether he plays, he might end up somewhere else, but he's a very good player himself, of course. And the European region, that seems not hurting for talent, but there should be some openings that could happen in that region, especially. So definitely would not be surprised to see all those players still around, of course. Another squad, speaking of Han Trash, former Han players, this was a full squad that was put together full of Han Trash. Very interesting names, I gotta say. Well, so not only you got Era, Jonas Fan, and Hanskin, they finally reformed yet again now, but they're bringing in some old Han buddies of Haxerin and LesQQ. My boy Haxerin especially. I am so excited to see this man.
I remember Haxerin.
He's old school, man. I will say he's a little older. He's got to be like almost 30.
Haxerin played Dota 1 with me in the old in-house leagues over a decade ago. He's got to be late 20s at the youngest. Yeah,
which is not that old, but
it's insanely old for this though. Like, if you look across esports, it just doesn't exist to play at that age. You have one, maybe two, one usually player over 25, and that's usually your captain. So, and I think Haxerin's probably playing mid for them, isn't he?
He's set up in the 2 position according to Wikipedia. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Arizona tweeted it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to expect from this team.
Yeah.
Nothing? Maybe a little something?
That's where I'm at. It's like, okay, Haxerin and LesQQ, great Han players. Haxerin has a lot of history. LesQQ definitely has some good runs himself. I don't really know their Dota history. Like, obviously, I'm sure they've been playing it for a bit. I doubt they're just coming into this completely blind by any means, but I have not seen them at all compete in really any events up until this announcement here. So
I'm pretty sure Haxerin tried to make the move to Dota early on in Dota 2. Like, he was on one of PPD's original teams coming over to Dota 2, and then once he got kicked or left, he went back to playing Han because there was still money in it. So he's definitely played the game. I just don't know to what extent and how long ago, because obviously everything's pretty public now. We can see things through Wikipedia and a bunch of these data scraping sites. He hasn't really played competitive games. So if he's been scrimming, sure, great. But I'm the same thing you are. Like, we're at the point, these kind of teams, there's not a lot of point to show a ton of interest until they can prove themselves.
Mm-hmm. Still exciting to see. It's a team that I'll be looking out for personally and rooting for, again, with their history and the player names. But I'm not sitting here expecting a lot out of them, frankly. I mean, I think a team like Team 2Ho I would definitely expect more out of than I expect from this team. So, but yeah, Jonas Van and Hanskin especially really trying to rebound after a really rough season last year with Alliance, of course, and maybe this will help them out, playing with some old school buddies and getting back together here. So they're called the Final Tribe, by the way. I guess is their name right now. It's kind of a cool name, I guess. The one last roster update before we move into bigger and better things here. SFTE, a team that's, obviously been making a little bit of a splash here and there, is they replaced Pexu with Pablo. Pablo, another former Alliance player himself. I just found that interesting. Pexu, we had actually, both you and I had been casting SFTE a little bit with some events. WCA comes to mind. And it's a squad that seemed pretty solid. And, Pexu is a former Han player and it seemed like he was fitting in with the team. But I guess something was there where either they just liked Pablo option more or maybe there's some drama. Who knows really? But Pablo steps in and he's now a 5th on the team. So he found a new home, I guess.
Yeah, there's so many question marks as to what this could have been because the only tournament they qualified for was, I believe, WCA, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So they are going to China for that. Could be a visa issue. Could be that they wanted just a more experienced player. Pablo's played a lot of pro Dota. Maybe they just wanted to get someone who's got a little more experience in that kind of environment. But, yep, interesting roster move. But, again, all they qualified for was WCA.
Well, to also be clear on that, actually, they just qualified for the next round, which then they got knocked out of. So they're not even going to the LAN themselves. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they don't even have a LAN coming. They are actually currently at the ROG Masters.
Okay.
As I say this, though. That's where they are at, yeah. So he kind of stepped in, right before they went to that.
It's the, closed qualifier portion of it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Just not much to go over, but, we'll get into that as well. So, yeah, those are the roster updates, though. Again, the rosters are officially closed now, which kind of help make some of these changes a reality. But other than that, there wasn't really much else that happened. It's pretty much going as expected when it comes to the rosters here. That leads us into now, let's start talking about events. Finally, the season is here. Obviously, we've had the qualifiers, so many of them, plenty going on. Finally, we can start talking about the LAN events, aka minors especially, and soon-to-be majors that are getting things started. And now, with our show not happening last week, we obviously didn't preview the Starladder minor, so we're going to do that first here. And as we're recording this, it's Thursday later on. And so, yes, the first day has actually already kicked off. So with keeping that in mind, we got Starladder Minor kicking off the whole season for the Dota 2 circuit. 8 teams, of course, ultimately playing in the event. And day one in the books for Group A action, as we had Liquid, SG Esports, Mineski, and Vici Gaming all playing against one another. But first, what I wanted to do, though, is kind of take a look at Group A and Group B, knowing results, maybe you can sway this a little bit, but looking at the groups initially.
Okay.
Group of death. I mean, that's what we always like to talk about, right? Swaying one way or the other. Is there a group that maybe stood out more to you?
Yeah. Looking at this on paper before I looked at any results, Group B looked way more balanced than Group A did. It looked way harder to decide who was getting out of that group. You've got Newbie with a bunch of question marks, coming off their TI run. Who knows how they're going to do? Secret just crushed every qualifier. Complexity taking the NA slot in a heavily contested region. And Navi's just a wild card. You never really know what Navi's going to do. Mm-hmm. So that group looked way harder to tier out versus when I look at Group A on paper, Liquid was my 1 seed, Vici Gaming was probably my 2 seed.
Yeah, Group B for me, too, absolutely. When it came to that group of death, quote unquote, stood out to me as you pointed out, really. All 4 teams, and maybe that's a little bit of the complexity bias, but I think it's also fair, right? Because they've qualified
but we
for
also
2
don't know.
Here, and you're right. Yeah, we really don't. And Navi is another great example of that. We really don't know what the hell they're going to do in the international scene here. So, did they get anything wrong here? I don't think so. I mean, I don't. I would only 8 teams.
I would have probably swapped Vici and Secret. Honestly, I get they didn't want 2 Chinese teams against each other in the same early bracket, but I think that would have balanced us out a lot, giving a very tough field, but still leaving room, I guess. I don't know. It's hard. It looks a little bit weird. Maybe you could have just moved, let's be fair, Mineski's probably the bottom seed in this tournament. Maybe you could have moved them over to Group B and tiered it out a little better.
I would have had SG bottom seed, honestly. Mineski's been looking pretty good, qualifying for a lot of these Southeast Asian events, especially.
So's SG, though. I mean, they're both just crushing their region, but internationally, that's the thing. Mineski's had players that have played internationally, and they haven't been winning. SG hasn't really had their shot at it with this roster yet, so I wasn't sure what to think of them. But either way, groups are established. We've got day 1 in the books. And with that, Liquid showing they're still Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much leads us into one of our next topics that we wanted to bring up here is what are we going to expect out of Liquid and Newbie? And what were they going to bring to the table? So, as you mentioned, okay, so day 1 has already happened. Liquid, they beat Mineski 2-0 fairly handily. The first game, it was a come from behind game, but behind Alchemist in the hands, I believe Miracle was playing it. He kind of led the team and ultimately came back for them. Game 2 was a stomp. And then they ended up going 2-0 over SG Esports. Pretty dominating victories to then move them on to the playoff bracket, which is actually just 4 teams in total. So it's 2 from each group. Then move on to a straight up single elimination playoff bracket is how the format's for this event. So yeah, Liquid answered questions very quickly.
They picked Tidehunter.
Yes, they picked Tidehunter.
And they won.
And then they won with Tidehunter. I remember that. Yeah, it was like the game 2, I want to say, against Mineski. Watching that earlier today.
And I think it's real interesting because when you win TI and you come back to the next tournament, traditionally a lot of teams have faltered because they've tried playing what won them TI. They tried to just stick with what worked. And yeah, they'll win some games because they're still good players, but they're a little behind on the meta. Liquid, though, the big thing I pitched over and over about TI was how many must bans that team had. You had GH Earthshaker, you had the Coddle, you had the Nature's Prophet, you had Wisp. There were so many must bans. Is Chen going to become one of them? They've picked it all 4 games of this tournament, and they're 4-0 with it.
I was literally just about to bring that up if you didn't. That was the one thing that stood out to me the most, that people that are saying, and we'll talk about this later on as well, but people that are sitting here complaining about this being a stale patch or we're just seeing the same things over and over and over again, I always think that's an over-exaggeration, first off. But Liquid, the team that won TI is showing you that's not even the case. As you point out, they just picked Chen in all their games today and went 4-0 with the hero. That's yet another hero that you kind of have to think about. Do we want to ban now against the likes of Liquid here? So, but I genuinely am really impressed with how they looked coming out in this event. Again, after the lulls you're getting at with the TI lull, they're winning TI7, not playing any qualifiers, etc. They really look like that they were the Liquid that just won TI7, even though we had a 2-month break for them.
Yeah. And I want to dive a little more into this Chen thing because I love giving credit to Heen. I think he's done great work on this team. I know drafting is a huge part of what he likes to do as a coach. And what they did in the draft with this is interesting enough. I want to talk about it. The Chen pick was picked up second phase the first series, both times. Obviously, you get beat by a Chen, you're like, okay, well, whatever. Chen wasn't the reason we lost the game. We're not first banning it. So they second phase it again, win again. Well, now it's a pattern. They get into their second series, and they've started first phasing this. They bumped it up the priority list, showing they can win even if they open with this pick. And what this is going to do is, as I was talking about, force that thought of, is this a new must ban? And if you can have 5 heroes on your must ban list, it is so hard to play against you. Because even if you ban 2 of them, they get both of the other 2 in the opening picks, or, at least 2 of the 3 because you block pick 1 of them. Liquid is setting themselves up with their hero pool alone to be the most dominant team still.
Well, and that also leads into, with the new circuit, one of the big rules that they introduced was coaches being allowed on the actual stage or booth or whatever. In this case, it's more of a stage, but with the players during the drafting phase. And so, yeah, you go back to Heen, being able to be up there. I'm sure that's continuing to give Liquid such an advantage when it comes to these drafts. And yeah, I was going to bring up a question, but again, we'll save it for later. We'll save it for later about the patch and everything. Don't want to get into that just yet here, but there are more teams in this event than just Liquid here.
No.
Well,
lies.
No, not
lies
really,
and slander, sir.
But the big one is, we mentioned that they had to face SG Esports in the second round. That's because SG Esports actually went 2-0 over Vici Gaming to kick it off. How about that? Our first LAN minor/major of the whole year. SG Esports defeats a Chinese team in Vici Gaming 2-0. This reminds me of Kiev Major last year, right? With the secret situation. It's like, where did the hell did this come from?
Yeah, I had so many question marks about this SG roster because it is a gutted shell of the SG roster that made that run. And they're still showing that the talent pool is deep in South America. They've got players that can still put up numbers. To be fair, they did get just straight manhandled by Liquid in the following series. But glimmer of hope from them there. I was impressed.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I did not wake up at 6 a.m. to watch the series this morning. But I was watching them talk about it later throughout the day. And apparently it was a lot of Vici Gaming. Very disappointing. They played, not their best at all. They did not look good. So not to take away from SG Esports by any means, but you got to think, Vici Gaming maybe wasn't on their A game for whatever reason.
I watched the first game because I was still up, and then I fell asleep during the second one. But it wasn't even Vici Gaming. It was 11. I'll straight up call him out for it. He was 0-12 the first game. He was 2-10 the following game. Single-handedly put them so far behind in laning phase. It was entirely on the back of him. I'll be blunt. And that's something you got to look at coming off of this. You got to decide, do you make the call now? And this is the situation where subs would be very good in the system. If teams had, like, a Vici Gaming had all of VGJ as their subs, they could swap out 11, swap in somebody else, and have a shot at this tournament. But right now, as it stands, unless 11 makes a massive change, I mean, what do you do from there? They're actually in such a terrible spot right now if he keeps playing like he is.
Well, they face Mineski on what would be Saturday, so maybe by the time you guys hear this podcast, that could be coming up there. They play them on Saturday in that elimination match, of course. Mineski going up against them due to their loss against Liquid in the first round. So Liquid, the only team so far moving on. Again, you still have the other 3 teams still competing in that GSL format, essentially is what it is. Group B. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this is one thing I really like about this format. Liquid was the winner coming out of day one, so they get a day, like 2 days off. They get a break. Yeah. I think that's really nice to reward the teams that are winning, give them a little bit of time off. I love this system. I think this is a great format structure.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It feels like it works, and it also prevents a team from being eliminated on that first day. So every team is still in it, which I think is important too, traveling all that way and et cetera. Group B. So now that we're getting the chance to now look at a group, and okay, it hasn't actually happened yet. Now by the time you hear this, it probably would have, but so you can laugh at us if we're wrong.
I'm going to give you a rare opportunity. I'm going to give you 60 uninterrupted seconds to rant about complexity. Go.
Okay, so complexity here. My boys. The first land of the season. First off, shout out to Complexity for sending me a jersey that I just got a couple of days ago, and I plan to be wearing that tomorrow, rooting them on. But Complexity, they qualify for, of course, 2 lands out of North America, this being one of them, one of the minors here. I am a little bit worried the fact that they're going up against Newbie in their opening match, but at the same time, I know Swindle Melons has had some fun words for the Chinese region in the past, and I don't know if that still holds or whatnot, but I will say this is the best Complexity team we have seen since going back to, God, what would that have been? The one where Chinese he was playing... Major. Well, Chinese Major? I was thinking TI, to be honest, but... what would have been like TI4 or TI5, I want to say. The one where he dropped the Eels. The story.
Chinese Major was after that, though, and they made a good run there.
Did they have a good run there? Okay.
They got top 8, I believe.
Obviously, that was with Fly even at the time. And
Yep.
Yeah, that squad there. So, but... Again, Chessie and Limp, it's the duo, the coming back from what we saw of them in the Han days. This is that old state green plus Moo, which Moo has really proven that he's so comfortable in that offlane yet again, and he really fits together with the squad, playing with the team and under the captaining of Swindle Melon. So I am expecting big things out of Complexity. We'll see how they do against Newbie to kick it off. There you go.
Nice. Well, my first point on that, Beef, where's my jersey? This is just bull. Come on, man. Yeah, I think it's a tough draw to have to go against Newbie first game, because the Navi secret game is going to be such a wild card. If Call's entire run in this tournament ends up being Newbie into secret into losing, that's going to feel real bad. Because that just, it puts them in a really weird spot. This group is hard.
It is.
I mean, I think they have a over 50% chance against Navi. I think they could do that. They're playing really well. They're on a good little heater. They're feeling comfortable. But I don't think they're favored against Newbie or Secret. So it's going to be hard, but I'm looking forward to both of these series tomorrow. I think it's going to do a lot for just not necessarily this tournament, but shelling out the regions and their overall strength. We need to see North America against more international competition, whose name isn't EG. We got to start building the tier list here, and Navi and Call are both going to look to bump their regions up respectively tomorrow.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun thing about these minors and majors that we're seeing so far, is that it almost like is a World Cup format, right? It's these nationalities kind of, as you said, Complexity is representing North America really at this event and so on. So it's kind of fun, seeing that and how they're obviously kicking off the circuit here as a representation for North America.
I mean, there's some potentially wide-reaching application for this too. I mean, if Complexity makes it out of this group stage, maybe NA gets one more invite to the next tournament. This is the kind of stuff that can swing those 2 to 3 invite spots for a 16-team tournament that are unsure, that aren't the Liquids, the Newbies, the EGs. That's what can get you guys an extra spot, and that opens up a lot of room for the region. It brings more money in. It helps the scene get bigger. So this kind of stuff can't be understated. This does matter on a grander scheme than just Complexity playing Newbie.
Yeah. All right, so as you mentioned, it's Newbie versus Complexity, and then Secret versus Navi here to kick it off. Let's do this. We'll do a couple things. First, we'll say which one of those 4 teams is going to make it out after their first day of play. So by the time people hear this, they'll know, and we'll either look smart or stupid.
Secret.
You're going Secret? Okay. Because of Liquid and just looking so good, No, I'm gonna go newbie. I'm gonna go new. I'm not gonna. You kidding me? I'm not that much of a fanboy. No, I would have to say newbie, and it hurts to say that because yes, I mean I think there is potential for complexity, but I am a little more worried now because of Liquid and how good they looked after that lull there, and I think newbie is obviously they are in the same boat of. I mean, they're a different team in the end, but I feel like they're going to still look pretty good. We're on the same patch and everything. It's going to be tough for complexity. So I would say newbie would be the one.
Now, to be fair, traditionally when a team does very well at TI, in China especially, they bomb after TI.
Okay.
It's been specifically China that's had this issue, but if you've gotten first or if you've gotten second, they seem to just crumble. I mean, after they won 2014 International, they ended up really winning nothing for like months, 3 phases of tournaments basically. So we'll see, but I'm definitely saying Secret's making it out.
All right, and then one last thing I wanted to do, and I kind of want to make this a thing with all of these minors and majors coming up, and even just lands in general. We'll make a habit to give our predictions on who will be in the finals, and then which team will also win it, and then we'll kind of keep track throughout the year with the point system or whatever, just to see how well we do. All right.
You just want more opportunities for our listeners just to flame us, don't you? I get what you're going for.
Or we can gloat about it. That's what I'm going for.
All right, it's going to be a secret Liquid final. Liquid's taking it.
Secret Liquid final, huh?
I'll even say Liquid's taking it 3-1.
Okay. So yeah, because you have Secret moving out in the first place spot. So me, it would then be... Oh,
it's
man.
hard because it's got to be the winner of the bracket here if you're going to put Liquid in the finals.
Yeah. The question is, do I have... Fuck it. Complexity, newbie, finals, and newbie wins.
So you're saying Complexity's getting out second, beating Liquid, and then beating newbie.
No, they're not beating newbie. Newbie wins though.
Oh, okay.
But they'll beat Liquid.
They'll beat Liquid. All right. That's a bold prediction.
It's a bold prediction, and I just might be right.
Now I see how you get your jerseys. You just chill out, you know.
Isle's gonna be a contested hero in that series. I'll say that with those two teams, if they do end up matching up there, and it might just end up getting banned, and then that screws over Complexity more so. But that's well, we're gonna start off strong here for the year. This way, if I'm right, I just look like a genius. If I'm wrong, it's bias. Okay, so either way, I'm good to go.
I see how it is. Just hedging the bets. All right. Well, that's enough Star Ladder. We got other events to run through. Let's keep this moving here.
Okay. We got another event coming up here called PGL Open Bucharest. It is a minor, despite what the name suggests there. Just their fancy way of saying the event. However, so this kicks off. When does it kick off? On the 19th of October. So pretty much next Thursday is when we're looking for this one to happen. Again, 8 teams in it. You got EG and LGD, the invited teams, Immortals, Infamous, Secret, Na'Vi, Mineski, and VGJ Thunder as the qualified teams. And you know what? They actually do have the groups. When I was looking at this earlier today, they were not filled in yet. So we could actually now look at the groups here. Okay.
Sweet. We get new analysis. I'm going to say while you look at the groups real quick, though, best part of this tournament, we get Red Eye back. I am so excited for Paul.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since we've seen him on a Dota stage.
Yeah. I know that he's excited for it as well. So, yeah, Red Eye going to be hosting it. As you mentioned, you got Toby and Lyrical as the casters. There's a Winter, Blitz, Capitalist, Fogged, and Merlini as the analyst. So feeling like a solid all-around event here. And
we get Blitz back. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. He's actually casting with Capitalist right now at the Starlight.
I was going to say, I wonder if, like, it says they're both analysts here. I'm wondering if the grand finals won't be Cap Blitz. It's got to be Toby. Never mind. Toby always gets finals.
Probably will.
All right. So, the groups. What do you think? First impressions.
So, Group A, LGD, Team Secret, Immortals, and Infamous. And then Group B, Evil Geniuses, Na'Vi, Mineski, and VGJ Thunder. My initial reaction, frankly, is these are pretty well done. I do not see it glaring either way, really.
No, I agree. I think it's an embarrassment if EG doesn't make it out of Group B. That is dark tidings for NA, though, if they don't make it out of that.
True. No, that is very true, yeah.
You're talking the qualifier teams from every region, no direct invites there, and they're all considered a pretty hefty tier down from EG. So if EG can't pull out at least qualifying out of that bracket, that's going to be really, really bad. And Group A, with the way Infamous has looked, I think they're like the throwaway 4th seed in this. The other 3, I think, are going to struggle against each other. But that looks like it's going to be like a 3-way race to the top, I guess. I don't see Infamous doing much in Group A against these teams.
Yeah, by the way, we had this. Infamous is actually replacing DC South America due to their disbandment. And they actually had to beat SG Esports in a new best of 5 to determine who would get that spot. So, obviously a big win for them and getting to their first LAN of the year here with that victory. But I definitely think that's a fair assessment to suggest that, I'm probably not going to be, not expecting them to compete at least. And now, again, my thing with this is, though, we've seen Secret plenty, we've seen Immortals plenty. LGD, we don't watch a lot of Chinese Dota. There's just so much going on. I know that they've been playing quite a bit, but frankly, haven't gotten to see a lot of them play. So similar to like the Liquid and the newbie situation, is just don't really know what to expect. But if I had to choose a team going out of Group A, I would say it's probably going to be Team Secret. I really have been impressed with their run that they've had in Europe. They've been more than impressive. Obviously, what we expected from them in the beginning. So I would say they're going to be the team to beat in Group A there.
The one thing I don't get is why DCSA was removed from this. Because yes, they're not DCSA anymore, but they still have 3 of the 5 players on the team. They did form a new team called White Dragons. Still has Leo Style, still has King Tekka, still has Matthew. Like generally the rule is if you keep 3 out of 5, you keep your slot.
I don't know if this has to do with the circuit rule from Valve or if this was a decision made by PGL. Honestly, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I feel like it was a PGL call because we already saw I guess that wasn't a Valve tournament with SFT, but
no.
Yeah, I don't know. That definitely was odd to me. And King RD and HFN, while technically leaving the team, they are actually on the official White Dragons roster in the Dota client. So yeah, I really don't know why DCSA was removed from this. But we will have Infamous taking their place, so that'll be your South American representatives.
I wonder if, that would be curious to get more insight in terms of if they made if DCSA even made a decision that they didn't want to do it for whatever reason. But because I'm also looking at the teams playing with subs rules once again on the Pro Circuit site.
You don't get points if you bring in 2 subs, but there's nothing saying you can't play.
Yeah. Well, it says in all other cases, all players earn 25% points. So you technically could get points still. It's just only 25%. But yeah, there's even the prize pool to play for. So yeah, there's no way it was DCSA's decision. Yeah, it probably was PGL's at that time. Oh, anyway, so that's a good point. But Infamous going.
This is one thing I do want to mention. This is Immortals' big chance. They qualified for 2 events, I believe. They qualified for this as well as Dota Pit.
Yes.
And this is their chance. This group is very fair. Secret, probably the 1 seed in this group, but they should be able to compete with LGD, and they should be able to take a series off of Infamous. And this is going to matter a lot with this team's validity in the scene going forward. I think this is a team that's so interesting because of how well the team itself is built and the infrastructure around them and the way Noah goes to tournament admins, and I'm not going to say bullies his way into tournaments, but he's a very persuasive individual. And if they could do a solid showing here at PGL, I think it could open the way for Immortals to potentially be direct invited to at least all of the qualifiers, if not potentially a direct invite if they'd win. I do think it's that kind of a roster. People want to see this MVP team. It's definitely going to be a team that's going to bring a lot of people in to watch.
Absolutely. This and so you've kind of even asked the question, who has the most to gain from this event? I mean, I think, Immortals is very likely up there on that list, and then on like the other side of the spectrum, who has the most to lose? Evil Geniuses, because as you were saying, out of Group B, everyone's gonna have their eyes on them for good reason. And how do they start? But I when we were kind of looking at overall all these qualifiers starting to play out and these minors and majors getting set, I do remember suggesting that this minor, the PGL Open, it feels like the most kind of even so far as all the lands, and just there's not that, there's not the Liquid, the newbie, or it's not a case of like, well, you figure these teams are going to be in the finals kind of deal.
This is a perfect minor. This is exactly what I want to see out of a minor. It's only 8 teams, not 16. It's a quicker tournament. You've got a bunch of mid-range teams in this pool. You've got a couple that their spot, they're looking like the underdogs coming into this, but I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. I really like this so far. I think this is going to be a better tournament than Starladder as far as just overall level of competition being fair. And I'm looking forward to this one a lot. It'll be on a better time zone for us. Yeah,
that's true. Well, is it really? I guess it's Romania.
They're like 6-7 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So
not as bad. Thank you.
They start it. Yeah. So they'll late. Yeah. It'll be better.
A little bit better.
We can catch the last series without having to wake up in the middle of the night. Anyway, okay, so that's Bucharest.
Well, no, we got
the weird one.
Well, we got to do the prediction first.
Oh yeah,
prediction now. So the who will make the finals and then who wins it ordeal. Another tough one.
I'm gonna say EG Secret, and I'm giving it to Secret 2-1.
Okay. I'm going to say Secret LGD finals. And it will be
Interesting.
Secret. Yeah, I'm going to have
that. Actually, okay. I can see that.
Mm-hmm. So whoever plays EG in the first round knocks them out.
Yep. And EG LGD is storied past there. So I can see that. Not bad. That's better than your last prediction. I'll give you that.
No bias here. This time around. So yeah, Secret. We both have Secret winning it though for the PGL Opens. Mm-hmm. They better win it now. All right. So this weird one, as you're saying, this different one.
All right. I got this. All right. Okay. So a film studio has decided they want to make an esports movie. I do not believe it's going to be anything like the stuff we've seen before. They want to make an actual Hollywood movie that just has video game related themes. So using the Hollywood budgets, they are flying 4 pretty solid teams out to Manila. They are going to have a LAN in a mall, and they're going to do a bunch of fun stuff with that. It's called the Manila Invitational. To run through the basics, you're going to have Virtus Pro, TNC, Optic, and IGV playing in a real quick 4-man single limb bracket. Best of 3s all the way through. They're also going to be doing some other little things like 1v1 challenges. They're going to play against that bot that was shown at TI. They're going to do a Pro-Am. They're even going to have the casters playing a game, I believe. So it's looking to just be a real goofy, fun event. Something that's just going to be something to watch just to see how it is. I don't even know if it's going to be streamed. There's actually not a stream link anywhere. On Wikipedia, on any of the pages I've found.
Yeah.
But it is going to exist. I have to imagine at the very least it'll be in the client on some sort of ticket. But it's going to be interesting. That does start tomorrow, Friday the 13th, throughout the weekend. So if you're interested in keeping an eye out for it, I'm sure there's going to be posts on Reddit. It's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, this is one that I feel like has been buried a little bit for good reason. Again, we got these minors and majors now kicking off. This is, as you pointed out, it's an exhibition, really. It's not a serious event. In fact, from what we could tell, not only might not even be streamed, but there's no prize pool either. As we believe, it's just probably they're just paying the teams simply to be there and play in this event. It literally is all that Hollywood idea, that budget, and they're just literally paying all these people to be here and create the atmosphere for this movie. So.
Yeah. Well, and they're doing some weird stuff too. I mean, they're bringing Chuan as talent. They're having him just come out and joke around with all the people. I mean, he's a legend in his own right in that area. So that's sure to draw a lot of people in. They're bringing in someone called Pindu Panda, who has like 500,000 likes on her Facebook page. She works with Fnatic. it's definitely gonna be interesting. Something I'm curious to see what it is.
Yeah, they got Toby Merlini and Sir Action Slacks as well. It's gonna be a fun show. It's gonna be a fun show, and I'm very curious. I don't know, many people are now too with this event. It's like what this whole end game.
Oh, the movie name is posted. I haven't found anything else about it online, but it's going to be called Underdogs Rising.
Oh, okay.
So that exists.
We know that.
Apparently.
Yeah, you're right.
I cannot find anything else about that movie. I looked up like the budget requests for Hollywood. I can't find anything, but apparently it exists.
Underdogs Rising. This will be fun. All right, so we'll see how that looks. But again, nothing to really take much from that as far as result oriented wise. Okay, back to actual events that are a little more matter here. Actual real events that aren't Hollywood here. The Dream League qualifiers. Dream League qualifiers have kicked off here. And this was the one that, it had a little bit of discussion, a little bit of drama even in terms of the format of the event in a couple of regions. How they're combining European and CIS to play together. And then they're going to guarantee that at least one CIS and then one European team make it on, of course.
And it's using the worst, most awful format ever.
Round robin?
I hate full round robin. This format is terrible. Like, all this situation does, you have 8 teams in this playing round robin. So you have literally, 2 weeks worth of games. And the last 3 days probably won't even matter. Like, this format just sets itself up to be absolutely terrible. 4 teams going to qualify and move forward. So, I voiced my disdain about this before. I hate this format.
It's a classic Dream League format. It's so we want as much content as possible. It does make those Swiss. Final days. No, I agree with you. I'm surprised that we have not seen Swiss since the Kiev Major once again, despite how well that went. And that's something that I still look forward to seeing.
Swiss for qualifiers is the best format you can have. For actual events, it screws up storylines. It's not very hype. I get that. You're not building anything cool. Round robin is boring. You get games that don't matter. You don't even get to see progression necessarily. It's like, oh, this team, if they lose one more game, they're out. Okay, they got to go on some huge run. If it's Swiss, every series matters so much. You lose a few series at the end as teams get knocked out, but that's fine. It's so much better. You still get a lot of games in. But all right, that's enough of my rant for this. The actual results so far, we're only about a third of the way into this, but VP with a strong early showing, sitting at 5-1. OG behind him at 4-2.
And Liquid and Secret yet to play.
Yep. Vega almost eliminated already. They're 1-7. Vega will actually be done with their next loss.
I was gonna say this is the other problem with a format like this is that, and also because of the scheduling conflicts and with all these events going on, that you do have some teams like a Vega Squadron, they've already played 8 games, and then you have Liquid and Secret that haven't even played a single game yet. So it does feel off there. And with the way they're planning to return, it's November 6th, apparently, which by then, God forbid, we could actually have a patch come out. And then, that's something else to take into consideration.
We'll get there. You're jumping the gun.
Soon.
But yeah, no, and this format sets us up for massive amounts of collusion, too. Like, okay, Vega is 1-7, 1 or 2 more losses, and they're, actually eliminated. So what's stopping them from throwing certain games so certain teams go on after that? Because it doesn't matter for them. Like, it's terrible. All right, well, I don't want to rant about this anymore.
The one saving grace for them in the past was always they had money on the line for each of the individual games. And so the idea...
Are they doing that for this, though?
They're not doing... That's what I was going to say. They're not doing that for this, from what I can tell, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they are.
I don't believe they are.
That's unfortunate. All right, but yeah, so enough about the format. Those are the teams, the 8 teams. By the way, Liquid, OG, Secret, Midder, Feed, Virtus Pro, Empire, Vega Squadron, and Na'Vi. All those teams have 4 spaces for the CIS European region. So this is kind of the equivalent of what Perfect World's doing. Another event coming up here. Where they invited, I think it was 4 Chinese teams or something like that. They had qualifiers for 4 or 5 Chinese teams. So It's going to be a back and forth battle of representing your regions. So far, we have had a couple of the qualifiers finish for Dream League, by the way. One being China. China newbie, actually. They went through their bracket there pretty standing, pretty easily. That's the word I was looking for. Vici Gaming, LFY, and then LFY again. So they're going in for China. And then you had, was it out of Southeast Asia? Yeah. No. They're not done yet.
South America.
South America, that's right. They finished. And Infamous beat what was DCSA 2-1 to advance on. So those are the teams that we do have moving on already. The other qualifiers need to still happen here. One interesting thing about the North American region is Evil Geniuses, Optic Gaming, and DC were the invited teams initially. DC. So we just got finished talking about their situation. I don't know. I'm curious if something's going to be done about that, but Complexity had to beat Immortals in the open qualifiers to even get to this point, which feels so weird.
Yeah, you got to wonder. Yeah, it just seems like Immortals would be better for the slot, but these invites were out a very long time ago.
Yeah.
This was one of the first pieces of info we had, and I can't fault the organization. This was decided a very, very long time ago.
And then you have Southeast Asia, Happy Feet, the team that's going to the major for ESL, representing that Southeast Asia. They actually had to qualify for the open qualifiers themselves. Again, it's understandable when they invited Mineski, Fnatic, and TNC Pro, but just a funny coincidence more so on how it's looking. But so that's in the works. It is a major, the Dream League major here, and making progress with these qualifiers.
Indeed.
Anything else to add on all of that?
No, I don't want to talk about this anymore. The format alone for Europe is just making me visibly upset.
Fair enough. We will advance on to a much cleaner event here.
This tournament's a little important to someone on this podcast here.
Yes, the ROG Masters event taking place.
Did you make the announcement in your opening segment?
I did not, no.
All right, go for it.
In case you haven't heard, it was announced a couple days ago, earlier this week, that I will be actually going to my first Dota 2 LAN as talent, as a caster. Specifically the... Thank you. I'm definitely doing the bows here. The Asian Pacific qualifiers, really the Southeast Asia region. Yeah, that's actually going to be happening at the end of this month is when it's set to happen. October 24th, I believe, is when I fly out there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Going to join Fog, Grant, Lyrical, Purge, D2 Bowie.
Yeah, you got a fun group of guys to do that with. Yanni is always a lot of fun at these kind of events. Lyrical's super chill. It'll be a good time.
So I got that to look forward to. But on that note, with this event, there is the the EMEA, which is the Eastern American qualifier. What is it again? European Middle Eastern American qualifiers. Wait, not America. What am I saying here? EMEA. What the hell does that even stand for?
Oh, Breaky. It's Eastern Europe. That's all I ever saw. Oh, yeah, Europe, Middle East, Africa.
Africa. I was like, America's doesn't sound right here.
There is no African Dota team. They don't actually exist. There was one that tried from South Africa, but
yeah,
it was a long time ago.
Anyways, these qualifiers have been happening for a long time. This is one of those events where they're literally trying to incorporate all the countries in the world, or a lot of them at least. It's pretty crazy.
Well, and they are through their invites too. Who in the hell are Helsinki Reds?
You haven't heard of Helsinki Reds?
No.
I believe they're actually.
And they got a direct invite.
Well, they replaced Tuho actually with their invite. So, yeah, I did cast one of their games in some random event that I don't remember what it was. But yeah, again, this is one of those. I like how Kingwin was the team that qualified out of the regional qualifiers. All these other ones got invited here, but. It's an event going on. We got it advancing on. It's in the semifinals, actually. It is a LAN event happening for these qualifiers. The main event, by the way, is a $235,000 prize pool for the eventual main event, which is a LAN that's going to be taking place. It actually doesn't have the dates for it just yet, but so far, CDEC is the only team to qualify, and that's out of China. And we still have American qualifiers, the Asia Pacific, 2 teams from there, and then 2 teams from Europe will also go on. Also, actually, the teams that make the finals go on to the LAN here for the European. Interesting. And right now, it's Empire versus Kingwin in 1 semifinals, and then it'll be Penta versus either Hellraisers or Double Dimension in the other one there.
Indeed. Yeah, I actually don't think they even know the date yet for the grand finals. Because ROG Masters is always a multi-game event. There's always CSGO at every one of them. Dota 2 and sometimes like Hearthstone, they'll run like an open tournament or something like that. But yeah, so they don't even have an actual date yet for this.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. A lot of minors and majors happening, Got to fit it in somewhere.
And this is neither.
Nope. But yeah, it's exciting though. As you said, going to be part of it, so looking forward to that here.
You.
It's all thanks to you guys. All thanks to your support. So that's the ROG Masters going down the line here. So there's one more event I thought it was worth just at least quickly bringing up. We'll do it anyway. Hey, the last 2 weeks of my life have been dedicated to casting this event, so
I'm sorry,
but
I'm
going to mention it. The Skin Coin WCA, the qualifiers for European, taking place. Good old WCA.
So have you used Skin Coin yet, Breaky? Did you sign up?
No, I did not, and I don't plan to, ever.
Oh man, that's just unfortunate. It seems super reputable. All right. Well, that qualifiers. You did a lot of those. I did a fair bit of those.
Yeah, you were casting those with me as well. And in the end, Hellraisers and Empire actually qualified, by the way. So those 2 teams go into the LAN, or at least qualified for it. Right there. And then Hellraisers did defeat Empire 3-2, actually, in a best of 5, to take their share of the better prize pool for the qualifiers. So that event happened.
Indeed.
Not much else to say there.
The only other thing to say is the NA qualifiers start next Friday. So if you're curious, we don't even know what teams are going to be there. They haven't even done their invites, posted their Wikipedia page. I got nothing else.
Leave it at that.
It's supposed to start in a week.
That's the WCA for you. You just never know. It just kind of pops up out of nowhere.
Yuck.
So we made it. We made it through the events at least. We still have some stuff wanted to talk about, and this is something, maybe we always try to, improve the podcast if we can, and always open to you guys' suggestions and everything. So a fun idea I thought we'll try this week is I gave it the name Hot Fire Questions. I don't even know if that works, but
I was actually going to bring that up. I'm like, not rapid fire? Are you just wanting the meme here, spit some hot fire?
Spit hot fire. Dial in.
All right. We got to spit some hot fire here with some questions.
You can get
right, hit me with one of these questions. What do we got?
We can get Juice to make a sweet intro for us here. All right, so hot fire questions. We got, which team had a more disappointing qualifying season? Was it DC or Fnatic?
Fnatic. Absolutely Fnatic. DC, the field was really hard, and they were... I said this literally right after TI. I thought DC was one of the weaker teams in the region. I think you made fun of me for that, but they
probably
they showed a lot of weakness in a lot of their games, and I didn't think they were going to be able to measure up, and they showed they didn't. Fnatic, on the other hand, tried essentially migrating a couple of their all-stars over to what they thought was the weakest region, and bombed.
Yeah, I definitely would lean towards Fnatic, just simply because the North American region is just so much more difficult, and we've seen that throughout these qualifiers. I definitely expected a lot more out of DC, and yes, I do remember making fun of you a little bit on that, but I don't know if I also expected the most out of Fnatic, though, frankly, either. Eternal Envy going all the way across the country, and yes, bringing Pylai, but, having Excalibur join the ranks.
Picking up Ohio? Yeah. DJ? They picked up 2 of the best players in the region.
Yeah.
And they can't beat teams like Happy Feet.
Happy Feet's going to major, man. Deals.
I'm not saying Happy Feet's bad, but man,
it feels like they should be able to.
Yeah, I expected this to be TNC Fnatic for this entire region. Mineski made good showings, and they weren't like they were a team that was definitely in it the entire time and closed them out. But that was so disappointing for Fnatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the deepest that Fnatic bit, they actually got very close to qualifying for the Dota pit, but they lost 3-2 to Mineski in the finals.
And they're still in a closed qualifier, right? They still have one more attempt.
For what? Oh, for Dream League. As we were talking earlier.
Yeah. Yep.
So they do have a chance to, as does DC, to be fair. So we'll see if one of those two teams
indeed
can make it out. But yeah, I think we both go with Fnatic there. Which qualifying run was more impressive so far? Secrets or Mineski's?
Secrets was more impressive in the fact that they dropped so few games, but I think Mineski was not a team I would have expected to qualify for as many events as they did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hedging my bets here and saying both. Nah, in reality, I think Mineski made more tournaments than I expected they would. I think that's probably the cooler story out of that.
I go with Secret. Just simply because I did not expect a lot out of this team. Maybe that was because of the whole Casia situation, but it wasn't a team that I expect a lot out of. But I also think we are seeing the European region as a whole, especially when you don't have teams like Liquid competing in the initial qualifiers, it is fairly weaker than maybe people would have thought it would be in this part of the season. So they do have that going for them, but I do think overall Secret's run has been very dominant too. On top of that, Mineski's had to grind out some series and grind out some games, but Secret, God, there was that one stat. It was they only dropped like 5 games or something like that through multiple qualifiers.
Yeah, no, it actually was just insanely nuts. They qualified for ESL 1 Hamburg, literally dropping 0 games. They qualified for PGL Open Bucharest, dropping 0 games in the bracket stage, and like they even drop a game in groups. Nope, not in that tournament either. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, they
just aren't losing. Statistically, that is disgustingly impressive when you think of how many games they're grinding.
Yeah.
To not let one series slip, even a single game a lot of the times. I will say statistically, I've been extremely impressed with Secret's run.
And we're going to see them in Star Ladder on Friday here. See how they do in that day one especially. Okay, so next question. What one hero or general gameplay change do you want to see in the patch that eventually will come?
I can only pick one. I probably would say I want gold tuning. I want like creep gold to be turned down a little bit. Comeback gold to be brought back a little bit, like 5-10% more than it is now. I want to see more smoothing of gold gains so that when you're behind, you don't just get systemically closed out of a game.
Okay. Interesting direction. I actually would go with general gameplay change as well, and specifically on the talent trees, seeing yet more customization with talent trees. Less of the generic plus strength plus health, whatever. More of the this ability does this much more now kind of deal.
Oh, that's so hard to balance, though.
But it's so
that's
awesome.
The issue I think Valve's going to run into. We can talk about this a little bit now. It's going to be very hard for them to make the big balance patches they used to have, where they would drop a whole slew of changes and just totally shake everything up. I have a feeling we could absolutely see a more league style patching where we get very minor patches every couple weeks or month after this like new hero release, which I think they're going to make a big patch because 2 new heroes. Mm-hmm. But after that, I could absolutely see fine tuning patches and then one big patch right before TI, like the month and a half prior, because they are not going to have time to have these big shakeups. Like even the stuff you're talking about, that kind of change is extremely hard to do if you have a major or a minor coming up in a week.
Yeah, you're right, but I don't know if that's going to stop them from actually doing those changes because when do they have that time to make those changes then?
Well, the solution's giving the pros a tournament realm. They always play, like if a new patch comes out, it's held on tournament realm for a month.
That's what League does, right?
Yes. Yes. Different regions handle it differently. Like NA plays a week after the patch. Korea waits like a month, sometimes a month and a half. But yeah, they just do it that way where there's always a little bit of lag time so that the patch can get settled out. And the biggest reason it happened in League was game-breaking bugs that could come across from patches. They don't like disabling heroes. They don't like stopping people from picking certain things. So if a bug would come out, rather than stopping the tournament, trying to make a hot fix, or just saying you can't pick this hero, they just play on the tournament realm. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of other things I would like to see changed, but that mostly comes in individual hero balance. Obviously, Veno's still way overtuned. I really want to see if I could have like an off the wall change. I want Break to come back. I want more things to disable passives.
I think you mentioned that, yeah.
Like Sheepstick should disable passives. It's such an expensive item. It hardly ever sees play. I don't know. I think that would be a huge change. But
it kind of leads into the next question here: is was Valve in the wrong to not have a patch to start the new season? You know, to kind of give it that feel of we're entering a new season, let's go with a new patch. Instead, we're starting Star Ladder and we're still on the old patch here. I mean, so what do you think?
I don't even say they were necessarily wrong. I think it's a problem with their organizational structure. They don't have the resources to have TI while at the same time concurrently working on a huge patch. Like, if we were going to have a big patch, it needed to come out the week after TI. Because there was not enough time any longer than that to not have it run into all of these qualifiers. Mm-hmm. So I think if Valve was a different structured company and they had a whole separate content team and a balance team and, 8 times the number of staff they currently have, it would have worked real nice. I think it would have been absolutely fantastic. But there wasn't really a way for them to do it. But as I was saying, there's not really a lull time from here till April? No, May.
It's a while.
Yeah.
It's a while. As I kind of touched on earlier on this topic, that the idea that we're in a spot with the patch not okay, let me get out of here. the patch not happening after TI, it would have been nice to kind of introduce it to a new season. I get that feel, but at the same time, I was actually bringing this up to somebody in my chat with Twitch earlier with my stream, and comparing almost to traditional sports, which I like to do with now and then, where a basketball season, a football season, whatever, the game doesn't necessarily change every single year. Like, sometimes there are some minor tweaks that happen, yes, but it doesn't have these bigger changes just to really make sure that the audience wants to keep watching from each year, each season to season, right? And I'm not saying it's a perfect correlation. It's a perfect example to take from esports to the traditional sports, especially when it comes to balance patches. Obviously, should be happening a little more frequently than traditional sport changes, but it's not the end of the world either. For me, as a viewer, I'm still pumped as heck that we got to see a new season start today. And even as we're going out with the Liquid situation where they picked Chen 4 games in a row, that's a hero we did not see at all at TI, or very, very little on top of that. And then all of a sudden they pick up 4 times. So this, yes, a new patch is exciting, and I understand why people think it's for the better and they want them to see this new patch, but I don't think it's honestly necessary for it to come out, right away or to start the season even. I hope that it happens, eventually here within the next month or so, sure. But I'm definitely not disappointed that it didn't happen, is the ultimate point.
I am disappointed we haven't seen a lot more regular balance patches. I could care less about massive overhaul patches. I'm with you there. I don't think they're that important to the game. But I think at the very longest, monthly tweaks need to come into the game, and it can be changing armor values by 1 or attack damages by 2 or 3. And those things will have ripple effects that throughout time will shift the meta. I think it's a little bit hard to compare it to traditional sports just because of the fact that the physicality is not actually a piece of esports. In basketball or in football, we see a new legendary player. I mean, Kareem Hunt in football this year, just explosive. And the way he plays the game is so different than other people because he can choose to do that. In esports, it's so much more a mental game. It's a game of thought. It's a game of numbers. And if those numbers never change, eventually it gets solved. And even if you don't, you may think there's more out there, like the Chen getting picked up. You still have to have people willing to do that. And I don't think if given a ton of time that's necessarily going to happen. I think eventually it's just going to stagnate out. Teams are going to quit innovating. They're going to just be bored. And the worst thing you can have happen is people getting bored of your game.
Yeah. And that's very fair. Like again, going back to my point, I'm not like happy they haven't released a patch. It's just more as I'm definitely not disappointed.
You're not ready to raise your pitchfork?
No, all this constant, Reddit posts just been made daily at this point, and just people like complaining about that. It's like new season starting. I'm like, guys, enjoy the games. You'll still be able to enjoy the games if you're a fan of Dota whatsoever. It's not like I don't know. That's anyways. Okay,
yeah.
So that's that question, and then there's one final question I thought was worth asking and very important. Capitalist with a beard, yes or no?
It's not the first time Capitalist has had a beard. Just throwing that out there for everybody. But yeah, Lumberjack Capitalist is it's his own cosmetic right now. Overall, it looks good. Dude needs some beard balm though, badly. Put a little work into that thing, it'd be sweet. But the untamed Lumberjack look, not quite doing it.
I feel like that's kind of what I was leaning towards. Like the beard has potential, but with how he's like always done his hair like sleek, and now he like could kind of move that down to the beard area too. I feel like, and just really have it all come together.
And rocking a fade and a beard is really hard at the same time.
Yeah,
like when you have no hair on the sides of your head and then it just blossoms out into this big billowy beard. Something about that's pretty wrong.
Yeah, no, I saw that on the cast today on the Star Ladder, and I know a lot of people were talking about it too. So, figured it was important to bring up here with our hot fire questions. All right,
I think Valve needs to do one more patch right before the next LAN, and all it does is enable techies.
If they do that,
just to make Reddit go ballistic.
There's been all these minor patches. It's been hilarious seeing the reaction of like these stupid like change logs of like nothing actually being changed that matters.
Well, now those minor change logs do matter though.
It doesn't matter
in the end. It just takes
patch what people want.
Yeah. I'm still. I believe they did say though that Dueling Fates is supposed to be out by the end of the year. I'm pretty sure that was part of the trailer. So they've got 2 months.
Still got some time.
Anyway, yeah.
So that's the hot fire questions, and that takes us to the conclusion here of this week's show. We have made it through. So it was good to be back again. One more time, guys. Sorry about last week. Obviously, it's just a very, very busy week. Didn't get around to it, but
there wasn't much to talk about. There was no actual events. There weren't even really qualifiers going on.
There was a Skin Coin WCA.
Obviously, it would have been nice to have done this yesterday. I'm talking about tournaments that matter, Breaky.
Yeah, I cast that event. It mattered, damn it. No, it was understandable that we did. I think it's safe to say, but at the same time, try to make this, of course, a weekly thing. So it's good to be back, and now with the season really kicking off, that's definitely the plan moving forward, guys. So, zrock, anything else? Any final words here?
I mean, excited for next week when we might have a little bit more info to share with you guys, but definitely some cool stuff potentially coming up on the horizon here. But that's all I'm going to say.
Dang, those teases. I wonder what you're talking about. I actually know, but you guys are probably wondering what he's talking about. Yeah, we'll get into that in the future here. Definitely some exciting stuff potentially coming up here. But for our show here this week, the DotPro, I want to thank you once again for tuning in. Myself, BreakyCPK, joined by zrock as always. No guests this week, I know. Sorry for that too, but I tried to get one. Unfortunately, it just did not work out. But next week, do have one lined up that I'm excited to have him on when we get the chance, and looking forward to it already. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy Star Ladder. Enjoy the week ahead of us here. The Dota 2 circuit is here. Let's all embrace it. Until the next DotPro episode, guys, have a good night.